Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Sika. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Taylor. Here. Council President Winslow.
Here. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that Urban Media Arts will be recording this evening's meeting. So just be aware, there will be audio and video recordings of this meeting. Is anybody else recording? I don't see anybody. So first order of business is public comment.
Didn't have anybody sign.
Okay, so public comment is allowed under the rules. Right now, we don't have anybody signed up, and we don't have anybody who's submitted any comments. So we will go on to the next order of business then. So that is the next order of business is the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda consists of meeting minutes to be approved, 1 appointment to be placed on file, and 16 petitions to be referred to license. Does any counselor have a desire to remove any of these items for the consent agenda for further discussion this evening? Okay, not seeing any objections to the consent agenda, then we will, I consider a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Taylor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the consent agenda is hereby approved. Next order of business.
Paper 208-24, communication from Council President Winslow regarding Community Preservation Committee vacancy. The Committee on Personnel and Appointments has received 5 applications for the open position on the Community Preservation Committee. The Personnel and Appointments Committee will review them to determine who to call in for interviews.
So I just wanted to make sure we had a communication. So we have under our rules, this is a community preservation appointment. Under the ordinances, we appoint that open seat. I did do an open process. We've gotten 5 applications. And so at the next personnel and appointments meeting for next Tuesday, we will be reviewing those applications. All of you will be receiving a copy of that before that meeting. So one of the things in the rules is that if you have someone you'd specifically request that we interview from that 5 people, you will have that opportunity to do that at the next meeting. So I just wanted to make sure you know that, and we will be having that at next week's meeting for you. So, I guess on my motion, I guess to receive. Okay, so we've received. Someone make a motion to receive the communication now. So
I move to receive the communication.
So Councilor O'Malley to receive the communication placed in file. Seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the communication has been received and placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 209-24, committee report. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 171, 173, 172, 173, 174, 175, series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following report.
Okay, on Councilor Sika's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, clerk will read the papers. Thank you.
Paper 171-24, petition, Lodging House, Top Tier Properties, LLC, 33 Maple Street renewal. 172-24, open air parking lot, TJ Automotive, 315 Pleasant Street, 15 spaces renewal. 173-24, pool tables, Loyal Order of the Moose Lodge, 1910, 562 Broadway, 2 tables renewal. Paper 174-24, pawnbroker, Carl Jewelers and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street renewal. Paper 175-24, secondhand dealer, Carl Jewelers and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street renewal.
All right, Councilor Sika for the committee. Let me get you on here, Councilor. There you go, Councilor.
Thank you, Council President. The License Committee met this evening to discuss all of these petitions. We met with the compliance guys, and there were no issues on any of these petitions. The committee voted unanimously to move them out of committee. I make a motion to grant these petitions.
Seconded.
All right, so on Councilor Sika's motion, let's see, did we have one paper that was held back, 172?
Oh, did you read it? I didn't think you did.
Okay.
Well, it was part of the
Oh,
agenda.
I
Okay.
thought you were going to take it out. Okay, I apologize. So there was one, paper 171-24. I was
172-24.
yeah, 172. 24, I apologize. A motion was made to table this paper, so we can further discuss our outdoor parking permit requirements. So all of them are going to be renewed, except for paper number 17224, which is going to be tabled and for further discussion.
Okay. So on Counselor Sika's motion to grant petitions 17124, 17324, 17424, and 17524, seconded by Counselor O'Malley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition. Those petitions are granted. Next order of business.
Paper 210-24 Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred papers 176 and 177, Series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following reports.
Okay. On Counselor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report.
Council President,
Oh, let's see. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, great.
I actually wanted to make a motion to recuse myself.
Okay.
An organization that I am employed with is on the list, so.
Okay, so on Counselor Crow's motion to recuse herself because an organization that she is involved with is listed on the funding under consideration, seconded by Counselor Sika. Clerk will call the roll.
Where are the board?
Okay, we
No,
can do
no,
a voice.
no, I don't think so. No, we had this conversation before, not board members.
Barbara used to recuse herself.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and, yeah, I think, all right, so, all right,
used to recuse herself, that's why I was asking.
yeah,
We have to recuse ourselves as well.
right. So did anybody else need to recuse themselves?
Just for a board member, I didn't think.
Well, let's start off with Counselor Crowe, and then we can,
Yeah, start with me.
start with Counselor Crowe. So, on Counselor Crowe's motion to recuse herself, seconded by Counselor Sika. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So Counselor Crowe is hereby excused. Is there, Counselor Sika, do you have a motion?
I have a
related?
motion to recuse myself along with council. Can we do them both? Do you need to
Okay,
vote
all right, so-
individually?
Sure, we can do those both, so if they're the same. Yeah,
Perfect.
basis.
So, Councilor Spatafora and I are newly appointed board members to the Malden Teen Enrichment Center. So, they too are on this list, and we need to recuse ourselves as well.
Okay, so on Counselor Sika's motion to recuse herself, and Counselor Sika, seconded by Counselor Spatafora. Any discussion on that? All right, so all those in favor of recusing Counselor Sika and Counselor Spatafora, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so Counselor Sika and Counselor Spatafora are recused. So do we have still have a quorum? So, okay.
And then there were
All right.
7.
Now we are 7. All right, so we have a quorum of 7.
Receive the committee report, do we have a second for that?
So, all right, so on a motion, Counselor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Counselor Linehan. Actually, okay, yeah, that's right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so all those in favor, so that the committee report is received. Counselor McDonald for the committee.
Thank
on
you, Council
Finance.
President. Clerk, will you please read the paper? It would be great if you could read both of these papers that go together.
Paper 176-24, order. The City of Malden filed with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development a consolidated plan, including applications for grants under Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended by the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1990, as amended, to be administered by the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development for fiscal year 2025, including all understanding and assurances contained therein on or substantially in the form presented to this meeting, in that Gary Christensen, Mayor and Chief Executive Officer of the City of Malden, be and hereby is directed and designated as the authorized representative for and in the name of, behalf of the City of Malden, to sign and file said plan, to act in connection with said plan, and to provide such additional information as may be required. Also, paper 177-24, order that the mayor be authorized to file an application for grants under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 and the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1990 CDBG budget.
Okay, thank you, Clerk, for reading. Counselor McDonald for the committee.
Yes, thank you. So this is our annual approval of our community development block grant Plan and Budget, and I'm carrying this as Finance Chair, but this is really administered by the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development. Deputy Director Alex Pratt is here. If we have any additional questions, he joined us in our Finance Committee meeting earlier today to go through this plan. These funds are awarded through a competitive grant process every year. The budget and the organizations and projects that will receive these funds are, it's attached to the item on the agenda. And just very quickly, the areas include affordable housing, that's rehab and redevelopment of income qualified properties, public services, that's funds that go to neighborhood organizations like the YWCA and the Teen Enrichment Center that we just recused some of our colleagues for. Physical improvements, including ADA, disability-related pedestrian improvements, park improvements, as well as Section 108 loan repayments for road improvements and previous work on our senior center and other parks. And then there's an administrative fee as a portion of that as well. So all of these, to qualify for CDBG funds, you have to be serving low and moderate income residents. So it's not just, it's not, you can't use it for anything. You have to show that impact. I think, as always, there's some great organizations and projects that we're supporting through this. So we had a good discussion about the budget this year, and the Finance Committee unanimously recommended favorable adoption of this. Let me also just note that while the City Council has this on our agenda tonight, there is also a public hearing if there is additional public comment that folks would like to offer before the city finalizes its submission, and that is next Monday at 6. It is next Monday, April 29th at 6 p.m. in City Hall. So, with that,
I think there
questions, I'm happy to make a motion.
In committee, there was an amendment made.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, City Council President. So this is amended. We clarified the usage of the administrative funds. So I'll make a motion to approve the order as amended.
All right. Second by Councilor Condon. Councilor O'Malley, 1 second. Has his light on, so.
I just had a question. Did you say that the hearing was going to happen after we vote on the funding?
Is that correct? Alex is coming up to answer that question. There's actually a previous hearing. This is a second required hearing prior to submission. Do you want?
Doesn't it seem odd to have the hearing after we vote on the
So we'll
funding?
just recognize our
Alex.
Community Development Block Grant Director, Alex Pratt here. All right, you're on.
Hi, yeah. It is a weird quirk. So our public process for this program begins in January. We have a community meeting or a public hearing when we open the application process. And then we have applications come in and we score them, we review them. The information is then made available for a 30-day comment period, which we are in. We have the meeting tonight, and we also have a public hearing, which we had previously scheduled earlier in the month and had to move it. But typically we do try to have those earlier, but it is not the first hearing on the budget. People can also submit comments by email. We sent out information about the hearing on email, and we try to respond to that as well. Thank you.
Does that clarify your question, Councilor O'Malley?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So if I can just briefly ask, Alex, so if something were to arise at that public hearing that necessitated change of the CDBG budget, would you come back, you would have to come back to us for that change because it's due May 15th?
It depends. The process for the public services, we have to follow a procurement process, so there's really not much that could change unless someone decided that they weren't going to accept the funds, is the only thing off the top of my mind that I can think of there being a change. What we do for every comment we do receive is we incorporate it into the plan by reference in our response to it, and typically those changes are more, those comments are more about the need for affordable housing or the need to focus on a certain area or to consider certain projects like that. At this point in the process, it's too late to add new programs. It wouldn't be fair, and it would break our procurement process for bringing new applications in. We haven't typically gotten comments like that over the years. It would be more, the comments we tend to receive in the comment period are more general around how do we make sure that we're addressing affordable housing, or how do we make sure we're addressing sustainability in our parks. Those are the types of comments we tend to receive. If we did receive a significant comment where we realized, oh, this was a glaring omission, we could do one of two things. We could come back to you if it required legislative action. And we can also amend the plan through an amendment process with HUD, which we use periodically, typically for minor things, but we could for a major, what they call a substantial amendment as well. We have a community participation plan on our website that is specific to CDBG and the home program. It's kind of the sister program that's affordable housing, and that governs how we make those decisions and follow that process.
Thank you, Alex. I think you were just a little quiet, so if I can just,
Sure.
maybe just pick up the microphone. So just to restate, so we've already had hearings in public process. Only certain things would be capable of changing because of our procurement rules at this stage.
That's correct.
And if we needed to, you could either come back to us or file an amendment with HUD, the Federal Housing, Department of Housing and Urban Development, if anything needed to change from this point.
Yeah, I'm struggling to come up with an example of what that might be, but if that were to happen, we would come back if it was legislatively necessary.
And given that comments at this stage are often broad and about kind of big picture needs and purposes, do you then take those comments and use them to inform the next year? Like, were you looking at last year's comments for this year?
Yes, and the other piece, the other thing that we have is next year we have our 5-year plan. So we call this the annual action plan. Next year we're doing our 5-year plan, which is called the consolidated plan. So that really sets the priorities for the next 5 years. You'll be hearing more from us probably in the fall about that process, but we're going to do extensive community engagement around that. And so any comments we receive this year would obviously tie into that as well.
Well, that sounds very exciting. Thank you.
And it's the 50th anniversary of CDBG in the city of Malden.
Okay, great. Counselor Colin Hayes.
Thank you. You kind of answered some of my questions. I was going to ask what the public meeting, could you just say a little bit about what the public meeting is and how the flow goes? Like, do you make a presentation and then?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think, Counselor, you were at the
Yes, yep.
last community meeting in January, maybe?
Yeah, a couple of them. I like to
Yeah,
show
it's
up,
great.
be
It's
the
good
only
to-
one.
Yeah, all the counselors are welcome, of course. All the counselors and the public are welcome, of course. So what we typically do we'll start with a presentation and then have question and answer. And usually if it's just a few people, we'll have a more informal discussion. A lot of our residents show up because they care about their parks, they care about community development, they care about affordable housing, but they don't know what CDBG is, they don't know what HUD is, they don't know all the intricacies of these programs, and they shouldn't have to engage in our program. So a lot of what we do is give a high-level overview of the program, and then an overview of the types of things that we can fund, current year budget, future year budget, any major issues or changes or things like that, and then we really just follow where the audience takes us.
Okay, yeah, that was, I asked that because I was thinking the same thing. It seems a little bit backwards to have a public meeting, so I was thinking maybe there's something different going on here, but so just so the public knows, you would go speak on stuff that looks like it's already funded, but ask questions, and maybe then I guess you would use that for next year?
We've never gotten a question on the plan about changing funding in the
Okay.
plan,
Okay,
except from all of you.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So just, Alex, just quick, so just to summarize the thing about the meeting, the process that's happening where we may vote tonight, and then at meeting, HUD will not reject a plan because of that, so.
No.
So this is following HUD's procedures, and, you know, it's a little funny, but HUD will still accept the.
Yes,
the
that's
change.
true.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions?
Can I just clarify for folks who don't already know who might be watching at home, that the Community Development Block Grant is a federal formula-driven grant that certain cities that have high-need populations receive directly, and then it's like we get a certain amount of money every year, and then we get to spend it on approved purposes, and so it's a really great program, and Malden's lucky to receive that money.
Looking forward to year 50.
Yeah, year 50. Here we go.
All right, great. All right, Counselor Colin Hayes makes a motion to, we have the motion on the floor. All the discussion is done. So, all right, and so the
So
clerk
this is
asked that we
specifically
call
for
roll call.
176 as amended.
So we'll vote for 176-24 as amended.
Yes.
So, all right, it's
And that
approving.
was a motion by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Condon.
Okay,
So Councilor Cologne Hayes?
Do the next one.
Yes.
Councilor Condon? Yes. Councilor Linehan?
Yes.
Councilor McDonald?
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley? Yes. Councilor Taylor?
Yes.
Council President Winslow?
yes. So that motion passes unanimously. So next motion? On the, now we have to pass the order. Motion on 17024, so motion by
177.
This is
17724. So Counselor Cullen Hayes makes a motion that we approve that order, seconded by Counselor Taylor. Clerk will call the roll on that.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Counselor Condon. Counselor Linehan.
Yes.
Counselor McDonald.
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley.
Yes.
Counselor Taylor. Council President Winslow.
Yes, the orders are adopted. Next order of business.
I will call in.
This is, okay, all right, let's do call in our colleagues that are, been recused, all right? And then we'll take the next order of business. Yeah, I didn't hear from him.
You didn't hear from me.
Let's see, we're just waiting for Counselor Spatafor. Okay, all right, so we're just, all right,
Shall we continue since we have a quorum?
all right.
Read the committee report before we open this.
All right, we'll continue, and Counselor, we will continue, and we'll pause any vote before we, but clerk will read the committee report.
Paper 211-24, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Community Engagement and Inclusion, to whom was referred Paper 138, Series of 2022, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably as amended by striking the title and body of the paper and inserting in its place the following.
Great. On Counselor, sure, okay, one thing again, all right, Counselor Crowe, yeah.
Before we actually hear the committee report and get into the, sort of the meat of this, I just have, there's a sort of, not a, I wouldn't say a situation, but that, you know, I feel like it needs to be addressed. So, Councilor Cologne Hayes, I know he had reached out to me on Sunday, because apparently, in a text, and that there was some discussion. So I really don't really understand the depth of the discussion or exactly who all the discussions happened with, but that thinking that I should recuse myself from this vote. And the facts are that there is somebody that is employed at the the same organization as me. She's a Ward 2 resident. She is a Malden resident, a homeowner, a taxpayer, a voter, and has 20 years' experience working with youth leadership. She went to one of the very first meetings that happened, and if anyone knows who works with me and lives in Ward 2, you'll know who it is. So she went to a public meeting, really by invite, and gave her opinion, probably gave a lot of pushback, and asked a lot of questions. And so because she had some issues and she gave her opinion, and she works with me, which has no bearing on my organization whatsoever, whether this goes through or doesn't go through. It has no, nothing changes. Tomorrow I go along the same way I did today. But I think really, for me, that the problem that I feel is an issue that needs to be addressed is a Malden resident came to a public meeting, and I'm not sure if irony or just ludicrousy of citizens' engagement, gave their opinion that was not in lockstep with the way that the paper was being presented, and for some reason, we either want to silence that or I get saddled with what someone else's opinions are. Again, I'm not recusing myself. I have checked in with Alicia. I looked at that. I do believe conflict of interest law is very important. As I did the last one, I recused myself. But this has no financial, no programmatic, no, nothing. Nothing changes in my organization as we go forward. But I feel like that needed to be addressed, that someone had an opinion, and it felt like that now that opinion is my fault. So I just think really in citizens' engagement, we really should not be trying to find a way when people have an issue to have that voice silent.
All right, so that's Counselor Crow's. So the next, I have, so there's just a statement. So Counselor Spatafora, you were next up, so Counselor Spatafora.
I didn't hit the button.
Okay, all right, so, all right, let's, now that we know that Counselor Crowe was not recusing herself, the next step is to receive the committee report. So, okay, so Counselor Colin Hayes, motion to receive the committee report, second by Counselor O'Malley. All those in favor say aye. All right, and then clerk will read the paper. So,
Paper 138-22. Order that the Malden City Council establish the Malden Youth Council, Special Subcommittee of the Community Engagement and Inclusion Committee. The Malden Youth Council seeks to uplift youth voices and increase youth civic engagement. The Malden Youth Council will work collaboratively with other Malden youth groups, schools, and elected officials. The MYC will seek to provide information and help without adding additional work to staff. The purpose of the MYC is to work in collaboration with local government by providing input and ideas on important matters under consideration by the City Council and informing the City Council of their challenges in government. To bring youth issues of importance to the attention of the City Council and community at large. The City Council may seek the help of the MYC to gather input from youth. To actively engage in city government by being a liaison to selected boards and commissions. This would be a mutual agreement between the MYC and the selected board or commission chair, and to implement projects that will benefit the community at large. The Malden Youth Council shall consist of 12 members who are residents of Malden, making the best effort to represent one member from each ward and one member representing each high school in Malden. Malden High School, Mystic Valley Regional Charter School, Malden Catholic, and the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational School. MYC members will serve for a minimum of 1 year and will elect who will serve as their chair. The MYC will report to the Community Engagement and Inclusion Committee. To be considered, students must be 14 to 19 years old and be a student in one of the high schools or homeschooled in Malden. Students will complete an application online, which will be reviewed by the members of the CEIC and 2 youth members who will interview the final candidates. This is Councilor Cologne Hayes as sponsor.
all right, so
Thank you.
Counselor Colin Hayes for the paper.
Thank you so much. Before I get into this, I do want to address what Council Crowe just said. We had talked outside. I did try and get in touch with her by numerous ways to talk about that. You all probably know me by now. I ask a lot of questions. I want to make sure I'm doing things right. I met with, and not just on you, but I met with the city solicitor. I've had many calls into our city clerk, to the council president, to my fellow members here on the community, just to make sure that I'm doing everything right. I've recused myself before, and someone did question this, which has questioned some open meeting laws about this, so it got me nervous, and I started making sure that everything was checked and that we were doing everything right. So it was just a question. I didn't file anything. I didn't ask for that. It was a question, and I really wanted the question to be from me to Councilor Crowe. But somehow that didn't work. I'm glad we worked it out. It was just really, I want to be so transparent about everything that that's where this goes. So my apologies if anything came out that didn't do it. Okay, yes, absolutely. So now we're just going to move along, and I'm going to go through the history of this for the same reason, because it's gone through a couple of passes. So basically, I'm super excited that we're here. I've learned a lot in this process, and in the Community Engagement and Inclusion Committee, we discussed the next steps for this youth council. So we had the city solicitor there, the council president, our city clerk, helping to organize this in a correct way. So what we learned is that we could have a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee out of the CEIC committee, sort of like Malden Hospital Committee, the Maplewood Square, our tech committee, and we had a few options were presented on how we can move forward. So one of them was we could place our original paper on file and then write a whole new other paper out of the that the body of the original paper is changed, or amend the original paper. So the committee voted to amend the original paper, and what we were told is we didn't really have to come back here for a vote on that, but we decided as a council together that it would be nice. We wanted your feedback. As for transparency, so you knew what was going on, we just thought that was the best way to go. So that's why we're here. And it was changed to an order. There were some things that went on there. So it's a paper that's written as an order because actions and items get referred into the committee and authorized to the council as orders all the time. I checked in with our clerk about it and our council president. So we know that that's right too. Now we're just going to get into the nuts and bolts of that because this is something we've been working on for a long time. I've had, in our committee, we've had it on Zoom so people can join from wherever for transparency. We had it recorded. I also like to speak from, like, when people do show up at my committee, I like to hear from them. So the youth would come and we would just kind of have a back and forth exchange. And what we landed on was something that we modeled on Wakefield. And basically, it's a youth council, a group that we will have open interviews for. That group will report to the Community Engagement and Inclusion Committee. And what their function is to really learn about civics. That's what they wanted. That's what the youth wanted. We asked them to learn how policy goes, how the inner workings of a council goes. It's not to put any added work on anyone here. That's to be sure. We're hoping that this works out. We're going to do a trial run for the year. It's going to come to our committee. We've all pledged that we will work hard on this and make it successful. The whole committee is very much behind this. What they'll do is we can ask them to do projects. They can bring projects to us, and we can do it community-wide. Any of you can ask for that. And then the other part would be, this is something that was very important to the youth. They wanted to know how our boards and commissions, how they worked, and they wanted to give that information back, sort of be the liaison between our committees and our already established groups, and then bring that information back to us. So it's like a give and take of information. And that would be agreed upon, just so we're not putting any more work on anybody. I just want to always be clear about that. They would be attending the meetings that are already held and then come back to us and give us an update on what that is so that we can kind of better understand that. So that's basically I'm sure there's going to be some questions, but just as a reminder, they will have no vote. They're just here to be a liaison, learn, and do some projects, and no payment. That had come up a long time ago. We got rid of that. And it's just here to give our youth just another way to learn civics. So I hope you support. We worked really hard on this, and hopefully we can have your support. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Councilor Colin Hayes. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilor Hayes, for going over the history. I find it helpful. And I just want to say that I agree with Councilor Crowe. You know, I don't think that this particular youth committee competes in any way or is a conflict in any way with the YW or any other group. So I will be supporting this this tonight. I do think it's a great opportunity to kind of establish the youth engagement. It makes perfect sense that it would be a subcommittee of the Community Engagement Committee. So I am fully in support. I would second your motion without stifling any debate. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. So I have a few questions regarding this. I'm struggling, I know that I spoke a couple of years ago about this, and I have nothing against the youth. I love the youth. I do the majority of my work for the youth, my events that I hold all year long, but I have a few, I've been on the phone today having conversations. I'm not sure if a resolve going into a committee should come out as an order. I have a little issue with that. And then I also have an issue with the committee making a subcommittee of that committee where there's children who don't have a vote. And if you're saying that the Citizen Engagement Committee, you allow people to speak, because that's what it is, it's a Citizen Engagement Committee, I'm not understanding the need to create a subcommittee of that committee when any child that comes to me as a city councilor, and I would assume most of my colleagues up here, and also our mayor, he meets with them once a month, why we would not listen to their voice or the concerns that they have, and why are we limiting it to a committee of only so many people when if the youth, you know, want to go to the boards and commissions and then come back and give you a report of those boards and commissions, it sounds like they can do it without even having a youth council established. I still really am struggling here with this. I don't, can you explain to me, like, the makeup of this committee? So only the committee decides who's going on this committee, because it's a subcommittee of the Citizen Engagement Committee, so I'm not on the Citizen Engagement Committee, so I have no say in who's gonna sit on that committee. It's only gonna be the 3 people that are on the Citizen Engagement Committee?
Sure. Do you want to go through and do we listen to everybody else and then we'll come back to answering?
I mean, I would just answer Counselor Sika's question. That'd be my suggestion. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, we've been working over this for like 2 years, so we've gone through, you know, so many different versions of how this could work, and this is what we came up with based on youth input. So the youth really want this, and, you know, I've worked with youth all my life as well, and they're asking for it, so I tend to listen and be guided by them. And we all know, right, we work with youth, you know that a lot of things, maybe they do want to come to anybody's welcome, you're right, to go to any boards and commission. Would they, you know, feel like that was, or maybe do that if there wasn't something that they signed up for? Who knows? But this is something that is needed and wanted by you know, a large majority of our youth. They want to learn about civics. They want to be a part of meeting consistently on a basis with counselors, going back, learning the process. I mean, it's all about something that you don't usually learn in school. This is very different from anything of the groups here too. It's something that other cities are doing. Like I said, I modeled it off of Wakefield. I also, I think Medford, I was meeting with their city council, they're doing it. Somerville has one. I mean, it's not something that's just made up out of the air. This is something that's been done, and it's time for Malden to do it. And so, basically, this is something that we drafted, and yes, it would be out of the, because I heard full stop last time that nobody wanted to have extra work. That was loud and clear. Nobody wanted to be like, you know, we have too much to do, so we tried to keep it in the committee, absolutely, based on the feedback that we got here. So that's why we did that, but we'd be welcome to interview. There's gonna be 12 people. We're gonna try and represent the schools, the clerk read it, but we're gonna try and represent all the schools there and all the wards. So yeah, absolutely, if you have somebody in Ward 8 and you're gonna say, hey, listen, why don't you apply for this and put them in here, we would love it. We're also gonna do some interviews. You're welcome to sit in on them. You know, I'm very flexible. This is just all about the youth and getting them involved and, you know, doing the things that they asked. And we did go around and around, and we figured that this was the probably most efficient way without taking up your time, because again, that was loud and clear. So we didn't want to do that. So if you want to participate though, I would love to have you. I hope that answers your question.
No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that the youth wants to be involved. And I remember when we were back at the senior center, pre-COVID, we had a group of very dedicated students that showed up every Tuesday to our city council meetings, and they sat through those long night meetings, and they took notes, and they felt like they were a part of discussions, I believe. We heard from them. The mayor back then was meeting with them, but my concern is I hear that all these students want to be involved, but they haven't been here in the last 2 years. This paper was tabled in January of 2022.
Well, they were.
And the only time they've been here is when they've been on the agenda. So
And they
if they've,
came to the
excuse
committees.
me?
Nope, they didn't. They came to the committee meetings, and we meet and
Okay,
talk. So,
that's
yeah.
fine, but if they want to be involved in civics, they're only involved when they're on the agenda. If they truly wanted to be involved in civics, they would be here every Tuesday night. that we are here having a meeting about civics.
I think that's a little insulting to them, but okay.
I,
Go ahead.
Counselor.
I think I answered that, but you can,
Let Counselor Sika speak,
go ahead.
please, right?
I unfortunately don't, and, you know, you sit up here and you throw the word transparency around a lot, and you said that you've been discussing this and meeting on this for the last 2 years, but it's only been to refer to a committee since last January. So what kind of meetings have you had prior to January?
yeah, no meetings. I've been meeting with youth. I haven't been holding meetings. I talk with youth all the time. I'm at the high school all the time. I'm at Malden Catholic. I talk with a lot of youth, but we're
Maybe
not
you
holding
should
meetings.
recuse yourself from this
All
vote,
right,
Councilor
Okay,
Cologne
sure.
Hayes. I
Councilor
will be
Sika.
voting
I
for
would
this.
actually like to ask
because
why you're
I-
so against it.
Counselor?
Why are you so against it? I'm very
Counselor
confused.
Hayes,
I
Counselor
just
Hayes.
said, Councilor Hayes, that I would be voting for this evening, but I have a lot of questions
Okay.
surrounding it.
Thank
I
you.
hear all the adults in the room saying the kids want this, the kids want this. Where are the kids? I think there's one here tonight. Am I correct? Are you here for this paper? Oh, I apologize. God bless you. We're discussing this paper this evening, and there's not one of these students in the audience for the paper and the committee that we're gonna create for them to be involved in civics. That is all.
Counselor Hayes,
They're,
college work right now, we've talked to them, and so they're all, that's what they're doing right now, because it's college time and two are seniors, so, they're watching. And they're involved in that, so, I'm sorry that they're, if you're listening, I'm sorry, we know how involved you are, thank
all
you.
right. So I have Counselor McDonald next, thank you.
Yeah, let me just say, I'm very happy to support this. I was this original co-sponsor of this, and I think this is, this is an even better starting point after all this work. So thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes, for this work. From my perspective, I used to be a youth programs director, and I think it's so important to design experiences that resonate with high school students because your lives are different. And I think it's hard to overstate how intimidating, just showing up at a random meeting can be. And so creating experience, that's why we have a teen center, I think is really important. And it's the kind of thing that generates returns over years, it's meaningful experience and time, but it's also how we cultivate our leaders today, our leaders for the future. And so I think this is a great place to start. And I think that while there has been a lot of back and forth about this paper, I do have a concern that the back and forth, which there have been legitimate questions raised, conveys that we somehow don't actually want youth involved, when I think that we all do. And so I would, I hope that we have a strong vote of support for this, and we all recognize that, yes, it does take a little bit more work to make it possible for youth to really fully participate in the process, who are not as resourced as, adults who are engaged in this. I mean, it's hard to follow these committee meetings sometimes for us as counselors, right? So I think it's a really valuable experiment to try, and I'm happy to support this paper. Thank you.
Counselor Linehan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just kind of wanted to share that I'm not on the committee, was happy to originally sponsor it, but was able to attend most of the meetings that the committee had. I know Councilor Simonelli's not with us tonight, but he was there for almost all of them as well. I want, folks who are listening, I want to appreciate the amount of work that went into it. I think that a lot of these questions, did come up. I think I missed some drama when a member of the public came, but that's okay. I'm not going to say I missed that per se. One time I was late. It sounds like I missed the only thing we're seeing. But honestly, the youth gave their time to this. Our colleagues have given time to vetting this. I shared some of my experiences, not just having kind of ad hoc committees or being on mayor's advisory committees, things that sort of don't fit into the traditional council committee format, but also when we were working on the courthouse project, we made a concerted effort to involve youth. The youth that applied were kids that I had never met before. They weren't like a friend of my friends or, the kids that you see that are in the Civics Club, that come to everything. I know that they've been driving this a lot, so that's not a dig on the Civics Club, but I think that there's such a huge world of youth out there. When you go to where the youth are or make more avenues for them to participate, I think it just broadens the range of folks that you'll get involved. And some of our demographic statistics, our youth are a very growing component of our population. If you bring our youth and our seniors together, it's a third of our city. So I think that it is important to create opportunities for them. It sounds like we're all supporting this tonight, but I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of my perspective as a non-committee member who just listened in and felt impressed by the process, impressed by the ideas that the youth brought in. I know we all want to listen to constituents of all ages, but I think what's the harm in trying this? I think it could be an iterative process that we tweak as we go along. I know our governor just appointed a youth council for the first time, so I think it puts us in good company of government listening to teens, and I'm open to it, and I hope that we all will be, basically. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Council President. I remember the Civics Club kids from the high school coming to our meetings and sitting through some very long meetings, and they were impressive. I was just wondering, like, how many of those kids that were involved with the Civics Club have made an effort to attend, you know, your meetings? Are they involved?
Are you talking about previous meetings or the ones that came in the past year? Because those all kids are, yes, yeah. So what happens is there's a group, and they talk also they meet every week. They're a civics club, so they meet, I don't go there every week, but they're meeting every week talking about how this is going to be, very excited. And they've come here, and yes, the same kids that you saw present for 2 years have been very much involved in this, and they've been coming, they came to the meetings that we've had, the committee meetings. Tonight, they've all checked in with me. Like I said, it's college time. The kids are this is a very stressful time for the youth right now. So even if 1 or 2 made it to the last meetings, they were always like, I'm so sorry, especially the seniors. You know, we're coming to the end of the wire, which is why we wanted to make sure this went tonight, because from here on out, anyone who has a senior knows their time is going to be, they're going to be so overwhelmed. So we really wanted to make sure that those founding members got a chance to see this pass. That's what this is all about, because they're going to go off to college next year. They won't be able to do this, but they were very excited that they could help it for their fellow classmates who also came. I think the last time, one of the meetings they came, there was like 12 of them, but, you know, they can't make everything. They have sports. They have a lot of stuff going on, but they meet weekly, just so you know.
But how many of the kids attended your meetings that showed interest from the high school?
Probably the representatives from the high school group is about 20. Representatives from that group were about 5 who came to us, but they brought the groups, they couldn't all show up. Again, they have lots of things on their plates, you know, between extracurricular activities and work, sports. The fact that they show up at all here and really want to do this is quite amazing. I'm really proud of them.
Were all the schools represented?
Yes, yes.
That
So
you
we talked
spoke about?
Yep, Malden Catholic. The Malden Catholic was involved. We talked with the Vogue. Mystic Valley Charter School we reached out to, and they said that they will, let people know, but they didn't want to be involved in the process. So yeah, we did make an effort to reach out to, a lot of people. But it happens, a lot of times it just takes a few. I remember with the teen center, years ago, I was a part of the original group, and it was a smaller group. I mean, that's how it starts. You usually don't get 20 kids showing up to the same thing all the time. It's really hard. I've got 3 kids of my own. It's hard. We have a Z Club that's going on. It's hard just to even get those kids together. So again, I'm super proud of all the hard work that they did, even with all these other things. They're very involved, these kids. But thank you for asking.
Yeah, I really don't see how much harm it would do. It's a new idea, and sometimes it doesn't hurt to try things, so.
Thank you.
All right, Councilor Condon, thank you. Let's see, 1 second. Councilor O'Malley.
For the second time, Councilor Sika.
But Spatafor,
so
we'll let you then.
I was just going to ask if I could be added as a co-sponsor. I would like to support this. And I think that was a great point about, it would be really nice to see this through to fruition with the team. at the high school and the different high schools that really started this. Knowing that they are about to depart, maybe they can get some, action items and set some goals for the group that then can be, carried forward as a relay race. I was a track person, so that's my metaphor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Melli. Councilor Spatafora.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem supporting this. I do have a question, though. I'm more confused now. So is the first founding members already decided? No. Well, what do you mean they're seniors? I don't understand how.
So here's what we said, the seniors, it's funny, we brought this up. Obviously, they can't be a member because they didn't go through the process. So what we did was, actually it was Councilor Simonelli who brought up, like, what can we do for these kids who are leaving? And they put in all this work. So we talked about it. Obviously, they're not, going to be members. They won't have time to do that. But we were like, maybe we can call them founding members. We don't have to if you have a different idea, but we wanted to honor all their work in some way. It could be an honorary thing. Yeah, maybe an honorary member. So that's basically what it was. They're not going to be a member, but, it's just a way. If you have an idea of how to honor them, I'd be happy to listen to it.
No, I'm going to support. I don't want to certainly disparage their work, and sometimes people do work without getting credit, but I think the challenge for me is if we're asking the public and the youths to apply for a job, it almost seems like the job was already determined and that path was already taken. And I'll be honest with you, if I was a 20-year-old male in the audience right now, I wouldn't be applying for the job either. 28. I said 28. I'm gonna make a little pun out of it, right? It's a compliment to the kid.
Yeah.
I would just hope this. I
You
would
can
just
take
hope
it off.
this.
I can take it off. It's not,
No, I would just,
Yeah.
I would hope this. I do have a concern. You guys did the work, that's fine. I have a concern when a subcommittee has the votes of the entire council for another committee. I've never seen that in my 20 years here. And if that's the path we're going down, then every committee member then can create their own subcommittee and then basically create their own group of citizens, individual children to represent that. And I don't think that's what this council wants to do, and I don't think it's the intent of the paper. But we talk about transparency. This board votes on every member of every body as a collective piece. We do not divvy up assignments. We don't. We never have.
yeah.
And
This is just so
Okay.
the president can, I'll let them speak to that because we did think about that. It's a different process, but I'll let the council president talk about that.
Yeah, it's a different process.
Yeah.
It's never happened here before. That's my point.
Okay.
The council president of every year can make any committee he or she wants. That committee is good for that year. And I'm just saying, I'm supporting this. I'm just letting everybody know, if this is the path we're going down, I don't support the mechanism here. I think this body, if it's a youth council, that 3 people get to decide who's on the youth council. So it's not a reflective of the entire council. Sure, we can give names. That doesn't seem like it's a transparent approach. The other thing I would say is, I know you say best interest. I would also highly, highly recommend we have a child from every high school. If we really want to represent, it's not best efforts.
Did I miss it? One?
No, you said it's best effort. So if we don't get somebody to apply for
Oh,
the.
got it. Okay.
Because
Yep, okay.
I just feel, they're completely different. You have a charter school environment, you have a vocational environment, you have a private Catholic high school, and you have a public school, right? Different demographics, different education levels, different career
Yeah,
paths.
we can add that. I have,
Yeah,
you can add amendment.
I would just say that I think that brings another level of integrity to this. Because we certainly don't want to have one high school have 8 members and 2 of the other ones. I'll support this. I think it's worth trying. But I do have a concern on the method of 3 individuals on this committee. And listen, I would hope the same question would be asked by me if I set up a subcommittee and 3 people were determining the factor of another body. We just don't do that here. And that's my only concern. And listen, the reason why the first time I was adamantly against this, right, was because I heard, whether it was a rumor or not, I think it was originally said was, we were going to pay children. My problem with paying anybody is, we don't pay some of our boards and commissions.
Yeah, we don't pay them.
No, I know in this
not.
iteration, but I'm saying the reason why, the reason why I was adamant against it was, I don't want to pay children to be on a youth council. Not because I don't think it's worth their time. I also, because then we would have to look at all our boards and commissions. And there's a lot of boards and
Yeah, we're not.
commissions in this city that do great work for charitable work, meaning
agree.
0. So that's why I was against it
Yep.
as much as that. And then you gotta pick winners and losers, right? Who's gonna get the money, who's not gonna get paid?
Yeah, they're not gonna
That's
be paid.
a different path, right? So I'm gonna support this. I just wanted to share my thought process in terms of how we picked that committee, and I think both in terms of representation by the council as well as the reflective schools. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Counselor Spatafor. Counselor Crowe, another time.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is really my first time. It is your first
Okay, all right, okay, well,
Just
okay.
keeping count. I was really questioned this at the beginning because I felt there was other ways to engage lots more kids in the process and not just the 12 or whatever we're gonna do. But I am pleased to see that, because I hadn't seen how this kind of changed all the way around since I just heard it tonight, that some of those things are kind of incorporated a little bit. So, I do appreciate that. I do still have, I think, like Council Spatafor saying, like, how we have to have one from each school. And you said one from each school, the best effort from each ward. It almost kind of feeling like we're gonna have this convoluted kind of process like we did with the CPC, that we're still trying to.
That's exactly what our concern
So,
was.
but I do think that, we need to make sure that we do have, that there is some things in place, some safety mechanisms to this, so, and I do think it still will be difficult. I know that the civics group, and they meet at Malden High School during the school day, or maybe right after school, once a week. This is, if we have them all over the city, this is gonna have to be, if they're gonna be a committee of the city council, they have to meet after 5:30. You know what I mean, and then go to these boards and commissions and report back.
That's what they wanted.
Well,
They'll do it.
I'm not sure how they will, sort of,
They'll do it.
sort of make some, if a board and commission meets, and they have a discussion, and then they vote on it, they report back, or a paper gets introduced one month, and then it's reported back the next month, I'm not sure. But, do you mean, like, how would they really are part of the process? So, I do have some concerns. I will be supporting this because I do agree, their youth voice is important. I think there's better ways to go about it, but I wasn't in on the design, so.
Come, please.
Okay.
No, I don't want to be in conflict, so,
Come, please.
but
All right,
I think there's a lot more work to be done.
You're all welcome.
all right, thank you, Counselor Crowe. So I'm just gonna say, take a chance here to say, I really appreciate Counselor Colin Hayes' work on this. I think we talk a lot, that was one of the concerns I think we all had initially with the initial resolution, that it was either gonna put burden on city staff or ourselves. And Counselor Colin Hayes has stepped up and done the work and is committed to seeing, this and lead to put it together. And one of the things, having worked in multiple communities with youth, not necessarily being the core part of my job like Counselor Crowe or that, sustainability of youth organizations is a challenge. You have a constant turnover of youth, and you have, a few years back before COVID, we had some great people. We had Brookty, who went on to Harvard. You have some great motivated students, and they're natural leaders, and they bring that together. But then Brookty leaves, and there's that gap. And I think one of the purposes of this is to create some consistency there. That's the hope there. And I think the other thing is, in working with youth, I've seen the great value, like I say, in Somerville, they did a great job in East Somerville when I worked over there of really doing some planning over in East Somerville, and I see the great thing, that benefit that's happened in that community because of a youth-led project with support of organizations there. In Gloucester, we did a great mapping of downtown Gloucester. In here in Malden, working with the A-Voice kids, of making sure we got input from high school kids who use our buses, as well as their families who use the buses. That resulted in several things of making sure we saved the bus routes that go to our Asian markets and have other things. So I seen a lot of positive come out of working with youth. But I know that it takes the effort and consistency, and it takes usually, someone, an adult, to help consistency. So I appreciate Councilor Colin Hayes is there, and I think, that's really where I come from. And I think the final thing is, I've worked with one of the youth, great volunteering out there, and I happened to be going to the Y the other day, and his mother, saw my name and said, "Oh, Counselor Winslow, I really want to give you credit. My son, who really kind of didn't know where it was going, he's now committed to do into college. He really being involved in these civic organizations and volunteer stuff. It's really given him some focus on the bigger world and taking that next step in college on that." So I think that's the other thing and I think that's what some of it is. We're building helping build youth. And I remember being in high school myself and clueless as to how to go out in the community. So having a place where you don't have to figure, that there is an avenue for youth into this city, and it doesn't prevent youth from showing up for something that aren't on the council and want to do something, whether you're 14 or 28, you can show up and provide input. But this provides sort of a base, an avenue, and also you hear from Councilor Cullen-Hayes of that, the people on this council are, they're really helping to, they'll be in their own schools. They will have those relationships that they'll bring in perspective. So I think it's a great thing. I'm definitely supportive of it, and I appreciate that. And the other thing is that if, Councilor Cullen-Hayes isn't putting in the work or future councilors don't step up, this may not go on. I mean, we're not committing, city resources otherwise than the work, and I think we all heard that at the start. We didn't want to overburden the council. We didn't want to overburden staff. So I think this is a good start, and we'll see. Let's see it for a year and see what happens. So thank you very much. So, yeah, sure.
Reminded me, when you said sustainability, I just wanted to say that we did have members from what you were talking about, Baruch T. And Billy, he's watching, who were former ones, like for a couple of years ago. They came and gave input too, so they're mentoring each other. So I just wanted to say that.
Excellent.
So this is an awesome thing. Bye.
Great. Councilor Taylor.
I wanted to add that I'm really excited to work on this as part of the Citizen Engagement Committee, and I'm excited about moving forward with this. Something that Councilor Spatafora had said made me think to maybe add an amendment that once we choose, much like the CPC, that it comes to the full council just to be confirmed. So we would go through the applications and then kind of have that second level process for transparency and to keep in line with the rest of our rules. So I would like to make, is it a friendly amendment? Is that what it's called to
Make an amendment.
if you're friendly to that.
Amendments. I could have the amendment that Councilor Spatafora, any amendment to this is fine with me. But I want to say that the reason why we didn't do that, I have to keep coming back to this, was from all the feedback we heard from you all that you did not want to have extra work. Otherwise, you could be involved in all of the interviews. That's seriously why we did that. We were trying to protect and be very cognizant of what you had, the feedback you gave. So, but go right ahead. I'd be happy with that.
Do we have a second? Councilor Spatafora, second that. All right. So the amendment would be that.
That after the committee chooses the final 12, they would be put forth to the full city council to be confirmed as any other appointment. So.
All right. Did everybody understand that? So,
and I think it would go on the consent agenda, so it would actually,
should we
now that
just
we have a consent agenda,
take
we'll
that
be
up
good.
as a vote right now, or I see other councilors' lights? Do you want to? Okay, so anybody want to speak to this amendment here? All right, so Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the clarification. It was kind of a question I was holding of like, how exactly does this decision get made? My understanding though is that the way we do this in other committees is that it's still the council president who decides, right? Like in the Maplewood Square Committee,
Right.
it still goes to the council president. So it seems like it would be more consistent and just a little bit cleaner if it was the council president, if the recommendations.
I do want to just clarify under our rules, special committees, unless we can vary this, unless otherwise provided by law or council order, so we could change the order. All special committees shall be appointed by the president and the sponsor of an order or resolve creating the special committee shall be named. So that's how the Maplewood Square Committee has worked. As we appoint new people, that was referred to, last year as Council Murphy, and it would just be a communication. And, it was, the transparency, all those appointments were put on the agenda of the council, and, but Councilor Murphy made those appointments. We did, do some screening at the committee level, but, I'm, we can vary by the order. So if we, I think under our rules, we can have a different way of doing it, and that people feel more comfortable. Like I say, I think it was, so we can do it either way, so. Any more
I don't
discussion,
feel,
Councilor?
I don't feel strongly, I just think it's helpful to be consistent, and I hate, just time is precious with folks, and so like having to wait because you hit the wrong week, and so actually now it's a 2-week delay before I can even get a confirmation versus just being able to get a quick confirmation from the council president, and then it shows up as a communication on the next council agenda, which we then receive, feels like it can hit the balance of transparency without kind of holding up the process. So that would be my friendly amendment to your friendly amendment, Councilor.
Okay, so anybody more want to discuss the proposed amendment? So let's see, so Councilor O'Malley, you want to discuss the proposed amendment? And we'll
Yeah, so this is on this is on Councilor Taylor's motion. I believe that, I personally would be okay with leaving this to the committee to decide, because it is a subcommittee, I believe, of that committee specifically. My understanding of this Rule 47, and thank you, Councilor Sika, for giving me the rule book, is that this is related to members of the council who serve on special committees. I wasn't aware that this applied to members of the public, because usually that follows the process that Councilor Spatafora was referencing, that we would appoint them to a committee or something. But this is a unique thing because it is a subcommittee of our Community Engagement Committee. I'm okay with leaving it the way it is written. I don't think it necessarily makes sense to just defer to the council president either. Maybe splitting it in the middle to Councilor Taylor's proposal is the best way forward. That's just my thoughts. Thank you.
All right,
So what is Councilor O'Malley's recommendation in splitting it? What's your recommendation?
I would say go with what the original.
so, all right, so he's supportive. Councilor Spatafora, your light was on. So, all right, so Councilor Crowe, you're talking to the amendment.
Just really quick, I actually support Councilor Taylor's amendment, and I do think, I understand like holding up the process, and we really don't want to do that, but if we have this new group of youth that wants to be involved in the city council, wouldn't it be nice if they got confirmed by the full city council? Met council is not just the 3, and they were off to boards and commissions. I think starting to immerse them in city council business is starting with the confirmation by the full city council.
Okay.
All they know about
All right.
that, the 2 years.
Anything else? Councilor Sika? Do you have, okay.
Thank you, Council President. This is the exact issue that I've been struggling with all day, because I feel like this committee should be made by you as the council president, not by a committee to form a subcommittee. I will do what everybody else is looking to do here, but this is I keep looking at this particular rule all day. I even brought this book with me. I never bring this book with me. And I do believe that I wasn't sure if I was going to vote for this paper, because I believe that you as the president is your job to create these committees. And like Councilor Spatafora had said earlier, me as the chair of license, I'm not going to go create a subcommittee of my license committee. I think it's silly. So I'm okay. I would prefer to be involved as a full city council, whether, if you're going to vote to have the Citizen Engagement Committee be the people that pick this, or whether the council president picks it. I think either way, we both should be, we all should be confirming these appointments either way. But
Yeah.
I think in all the years that I've been here, the only person that has ever created a committee is the council president, whether, because I think there are councilors sitting on the youth council. It's you.
Right.
So I read that wrong. or I read an old paper. There was so many attachments. There was something that said that you or somebody was gonna be in charge.
All right.
So this is just a subcommittee with no counselors on it, and they have no voting right. They're only bringing you ideas.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Counselor,
Yeah, just a point of information.
Just
And
a
we're on the-
clarification.
Technically, we're on the amendment. So just so you know, the paper you have in front of you today is actually outdated. There's new language that is on the what we got in our email. So there are no counselors on this.
Yeah, and that was what was read into the record tonight by the clerk, so, all right. All right, so Counselor Sika, I don't see any more, so let's vote on the amendment. So on Counselor Taylor's amendment, seconded by Counselor Spatafora, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Any opposed? So the paper is now amended. Do we want to have just a vote on the paper now? Do we need any for this? So,
Adopt
okay.
We did previously have a motion on the floor by Councilor Hayes, seconded by Councilor O'Malley.
All right.
Adopt the order, we'll say now adopt the order as amended.
All right, so on Counselor Colon Hayes's motion to adopt the paper as amended, seconded by Counselor O'Malley, clerk will, I guess then we'll take a voice vote. So all those in favor of the paper, the order as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so the order is thereby adopted, and congratulations to the youth and the committee for working on this through in the whole council. So, and we'll look forward to the list of appointees in the fall. Great. Great, so that's that paper. All right, so so next order of business, is there any report on any of the table papers? Okay, great. All right, so we don't, there's no action on the table papers today, so that leaves the docket clear. And would anybody like to do personal privilege? Councilor Linehan, is that why you have your light on there? So, okay, great. So Councilor Linehan for personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to do one more plug and reminder for this weekend's park cleanup at Fellsmere Pond. We're going to be doing a community park cleanup from 9:30 to 11:30 on Saturday. All are welcome. We're partnering with the Malden Girl Scouts. I think we also have some Cub Scouts coming and some other volunteers. The more the merrier. All the supplies will be provided, so come on down. We're going to meet on the Savin Street side. That's all I've got.
All right, great. Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Spatafora and I are once again hosting our annual Fishing Derby on Saturday, May 18th at Pine Banks Pond. It starts at 9:30 a.m. and registration is now open at the Malden Rec, on the Malden Rec website. As of yesterday, we already had 120 children registered for this event, so it should be another huge success as long as it doesn't rain. I feel like that's all it's done the last year. Literally every Saturday, right? And I think that is all I got right now, is Fishing Derby. Thank you.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you. We've got two great opportunities coming up this week. One, I'm very excited to see the amount of conversation online about Malden community electricity. So we have our first of two public meetings tomorrow, Wednesday, April 24th at 5:30 p.m. It'll be in City Hall. It'll be in one of our rooms here at City Hall, as well as online. You can attend via Zoom. Just go to maldencommunityelectricity.com to register, and you can learn more about this great opportunity to provide strong and positive changes for our electrical bills here in Malden. So yeah, if you got questions, you want to learn more about the program, this is a great opportunity. A second thing is our Green Malden Fair, honoring Earth Day, which was yesterday, which is coming up this Sunday, April 28th from 12 to 3 p.m. It's going to be at Pine Banks Park, again in the field house that's like kind of tucked behind the ball field, so you kind of come in on the Main Street entrance, and then you just wind around and it's back there. It's going to be a great event, just like last year. You can enroll in our compost program. You can adopt a drain. I'd like to encourage all of my city council colleagues to consider adopting a drain.
Storm drain.
A storm drain.
Yep.
You just make sure it is clear of garbage and that it, in fact, does drain. And you can name the drain. I don't, as long as it's not, like, obscene. So, yeah, like some places name their snowplows. Well, we're going to name some storm drains, like Drainy McDrainface and, I don't know, whatever you want to pick.
Okay.
You can bring your styrofoam, your electronics, your textiles, and your latex paint and paper to shred, and those will all be recycled. You can learn more about our new stormwater rain barrel program, where we have a really steep discount on rain barrels. And so just lots of great stuff. So come and check out our Green Malden Fair this weekend, 12 to 3 p.m. at Pine Banks Park.
Great.
And I would just say happy Passover to those who celebrate.
Yeah, great. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. We were able to have our Waits Mountain cleanup with the Great Malden Outdoors as a part sponsor. It was great. Please go up and check out the mount. The best way to keep our parks clean is to use them and recreate. I also want to plug the Green Malden Fair, the Spot Palm Brook Greenway. We'll have some public engagement there. The project is still going. We're on the transportation improvement plan, the state's tip for construction funds. We've gotten Mass Trails grants to do more design. Obviously, we want to make sure that we do as much community engagement as possible. It's probably one of the most engaged projects that's been going on. And oftentimes I see people when I'm cleaning up parks, for instance, and they're like, hey, is this still going on? Like, what's going on? And I was like, yep, it's still going, but it's obviously a very strategic project, and we're going to be focusing south of Quartermalee and connecting it to the Northern Strand. The overall plan is, many years away, being worked with various stakeholders in other communities. But we do know that there are some, conflict zones north of the park, so that portion of the project is on hold at this point, and we're focusing on connecting. So if you want to find out more information and look at some of the plans, please come down to the Green Malden Fair, as Councilor McDonald said, April 28th at 12 p.m. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also at the Green Malden Fair, Bike to the Sea will be there, and YWCA will be there with bike helmets. I have, for youth and adults, I have hundreds of helmets to give out, so please show up so I don't have to lug them back again. That's the hard part. But also, I'll be hosting the annual Mother's Day event on Mother's Day, which is May 12th, believe it or not. It's only a couple of weeks away. It is at Anthony's Restaurant of Malden on Canal Street. It's from 9:30 to 11:30. It's open to everybody. We have some, raffles, and, we have a delicious breakfast and some fun. So I hope people come on down and celebrate the important women in your life.
Okay. Councilor Colin Hayes.
Thank you. So good luck on your fishing derby. I found out that there are a lot of people here who want to fish, so hopefully we had a good showing for ours too, but not as much like competition and cool stuff that you do. So I'll be stopping by, but I also just wanted to remind everybody that I know I've been saying this over and over, but the North Shore Hispanic Association is having their fundraiser and honored event this Thursday. You can still buy tickets at the door. It's this Thursday, April 25th at the Irish American, and we're honoring Jorge Quiroga, Elena Martinez, Lehia Noriega Murphy, Maria Teresa de Villos, MT, people know her, and Martha Valentine. So come on down. We're going to have some traditional food. It starts at 5:30. It's a $50 donation, but that includes food. We have live entertainment, and that goes towards the proceeds goes towards having our free big festival in September. So thank you.
All right, Councilor McDonald.
So, I'm sorry, just one thing I forgot to also mention about the Green Malden Fair is it's an opportunity to give feedback on our draft climate action plan. The final plan is out for community review. I will send it to all my colleagues to make sure, I'll ask Lisa to forward that to you all so you can take a look at it. But it's a really exciting culmination of a year of really deep community engagement work, so that will be out for comment. And I encourage folks to take a look at that on the City of Malden's Green Malden website as well. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few things myself here, a lot. This is going to be a very active time of the year, as we see. So for Earth Week, if anybody's in Ward 6 wants to come out, Peter Casso is going to be in Maplewood Square on Friday around 10:30, and we're going to be cleaning up the square. There's going to be another special guest there, so come out on Friday, 10:30 for that. And then Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, we're going to be down on the bike trail with Live Like Becca folks doing the flowers down by the community garden. So if anybody wants to join us for that. And then I do also just want to make a note for the council that next week is Council of the Whole, but we will be having a Council of the Whole meeting, and we will be going into executive session. That's at least the plan right now. We'll putting out a notice, but we will be getting an update on litigation. So just to let you know, we've had a few weeks where we haven't had a 7 o'clock, but we will be having a meeting. So plan on that next week. So just to let you know, and I will. Councilor Crowe.
Sorry,
One last thing. Okay.
with all this excitement,
Okay.
I actually wanted to have a moment of silence for Kathleen Manning Hall's
Okay.
father
Yes,
had
sure.
passed
All
away,
right.
and
Yes,
today
sir. Yes.
was his services, so.
Yeah.
and
So
just
yes,
honor-
just give a moment. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right, and then I think if nobody else has any more comments, let's say Councilor Condon, you had one more.
I'm sorry, I was out of the room on
Okay.
a little emergency.
Okay, all right, no
But
problem.
while Carrie's here, I'm getting a lot of questions on that electricity. Sorry.
So-
But tell me if I'm wrong, okay? Because I had an opportunity to talk to our facilities manager. And he says they've had it in Stoneham for 4 or 5 years. And this still about 24% below, like National Grid or some of the other people. And he said to me that somebody that gets in, now they signed a 4-year contract, is that correct?
It's 3 years, but yes.
3 years?
Yep.
Somebody that gets in for those 3 years, you can actually get out anytime you want. So if it's not beneficial to you as a resident of Malden, you can walk away from it.
That's right.
Everything I say is true?
Yes. Is it okay if I just do
Yeah.
2 to 3
Could
minutes
you?
on this, Council President? I'm sorry. I know, right before, this is
All
a
right,
test,
well,
everybody.
first, let people know we're having a
Yes.
specific meeting on this, right? Come
So
on.
just to remind folks, so we have a public meeting that we will go into this in detail tomorrow, 5:30 PM, both on Zoom and at City Council.
So give us a preview of what you might talk about.
So we will go through lots of question and answers there. The city put out some Q&As. We'll be able to take other questions, give a little more information. Very quickly, Malden Community Electricity is a program where the city negotiates bulk rates and good terms on your electricity. Now, there's a lot of folks who are, who have been solicited by these private companies for independent plans, and some of those are pretty sketchy. So that's part of why the city steps in and negotiates a good rate and good terms. The rates are locked in for the term of the contract. And yes, not only Stoneham, but Medford and Melrose have been in this program for years. And they all have better electrical standard rates than we do. So right now, when this program will take effect in June, the National Grid basic service rate is 18.2 cents per kilowatt hour, and our standard default under Malden Community Electricity will become 13.76 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's like that's a 25% decrease. The default, which is required by the state under this program, is that folks are opted in. We say you can't guarantee savings because it's possible that National Grid could drop electrical rates by a bunch of money in the future. Is that likely? I mean, I guess no one really knows. But if that were to happen, you are absolutely right. Councilor Conan, is required by law that you can leave at any time for no penalty, and you can also come back at any time if you would like to do this. But part of the reason that this is an opt-out rather than opt-in program is actually to remove barriers when we are getting good terms. If we couldn't get good terms, we would have held off until we could get good terms. But for many folks, you know, their electric bills are confusing. That's part of why the city steps in and does this. And so we're going to be, you know, when this program starts, we're going to be saving Malden residents a lot of money. And yes, you can certainly opt out at any time. If you are already doing something else with your electrical bill, it doesn't change that, but you can opt in. That's what I do. Actually, I have a private service and I'll opt in. So that's the only thing that's different. Otherwise, nothing changes. Last thing I just want to recognize, you know, I've been helping to get this ball over the finish line, but this work started like many years ago. Councilor O'Malley, Councilor Spatafor, and others looking into this possibility. We now have a pretty good sense of how this goes because 150 other cities and towns in Massachusetts do this. We have a pretty good sensibility about it, and so I have a high level of confidence that this will be a smooth program, but really just encourage everyone to come tomorrow if you'd like to learn more.
And again, tomorrow at City Hall, what time?
5:30 p.m.
All right.
I don't think,
Several residents from Melrose told me,
This-
involved with the city, who told me they opted out of the program.
any resident in any community electricity program can opt out at any time. So I'm sure there are people in Melrose and Medford who opted out, but I think overall they have very high participation rates.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Spatafor.
Yeah, I just want to add
last
one
word
quick
on
thing to Council McDonald's point. It's been a long journey, certainly it's carried over the Yavlin. I think the challenge, you know, speaking to the public, I've gotten a lot of calls too. I think the challenge is the rules on opting in the design are created by the state. You know, somebody who works in the financial sector, we are constantly teaching our clients, especially the elderly, not to look for suspicious mail, suspicious activity, phishing, right, emails. Even as a council, we're going through this training, and then that drops in your mailbox, and it looks suspicious, right? I mean, I told several of the residents, it looks fake. It looks like it's somebody, you know, try to capture an email address or do something nefarious. And I think that's half the challenge, and I know a lot of that is dictated by the state. Because, you know, one of my ideas was they should have really put it like in an official city letter rather than that look like my son copied and pasted out of a book report, right, the city seal. And I think that's where a lot of the challenge and questions I came from, not necessarily the rates and the opt-in, but is it real? Is it a real program, or is this something fake? Because, you know, we also get that support the Malden police officers, which we know that's not really a city endured obligation, right? You get that mail in the mail. I think they get like 2 cents out of that, or some ridiculous amount. That's not real. So I just wanted to kind of, I know there's a meeting tomorrow, and I want to be able, but that's I think some of the most of the challenge we've seen.
All right,
Thank you, Mr.
so if
President.
you have more questions about community electricity, 5:30 here at City Council Chambers, and I guess on Zoom as well, so you can look on the city website. Councilor Condon, do you have one last comment, or, okay?
Nope.
All right, so entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor O'Malley, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned. Great, okay. Good. Great.